With the divisional round of the playoffs this weekend and big things sure to happen in the playoffs, I wanted to change up the usual style of videos and go with something I usually don't do, and that's bold predictions. We're going to be discussing a bold prediction or two in every game, and how it could occur and why it could happen. Now, it's not going to be anything like Patrick Mahomes will throw for less than 100 yards, or that the Browns will go into Arrowhead and win by 40 and keep their momentum, because we are talking bold predictions and not outlandishly stupid ones. Now, before we get started, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as each only take a second to do, and it would be very much appreciated. Now let's begin. And we start today's video with the Browns and Chiefs game. So congrats to the Browns for their first playoff win this century against the Steelers last week, and as we know, the Chiefs are the defending champions. Quarterbacks Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes have met once in the NFL, and that was back in 2018, in the midst of Patrick Mahomes' 50-touchdown, 5,000-yard season, and not surprisingly, the Chiefs won. But the bold prediction for Sunday is that this game goes over 70 total points, and Baker Mayfield and Patrick combine for 8 passing touchdowns. Patrick is one of the best players in football and is often viewed as the golden boy of the NFL, given he is only 25 years old, an MVP winner, and a Super Bowl MVP winner already. But Baker, on the other hand, has played good this year in timely situations, which is in large part why the Browns were 11-5 in the regular season and won a playoff game. Now, the Steelers did give the Browns a lot of help for that playoff win, but Baker still had to come through at the end of the day. He threw for 3 touchdowns against Pittsburgh in his first ever playoff game as big underdogs on the road, and he can do it again. I think it's fair to say Baker likes playing as an underdog, as we have seen at times in his career when the Browns start to get a little hype or build up, then they come crashing down, or they simply can't live up to those lofty expectations. A perfect example is really the entire 2019 season, when they were supposed to go to the Super Bowl or at least a solid playoff run, and Baker threw for 22 touchdowns to 21 interceptions. And not only that specific example, which by the way was a whole season's worth, but when the Browns went into Heinz Field this year in Week 6 as a then 4-1 team. They got absolutely throttled by Baltimore in Week 1 and reeled off 4 in a row, and they were looking to dethrone Big Brother, who was then 5-0. The pressure was on the Browns, and they got beat by 31 points. But now they have won a playoff game, and while I say congratulations to them for doing so, the pressure isn't exactly on, because everyone thinks they're going to get beat this week. But if the Chiefs come out and strike quickly this week, which is entirely possible, how will the Browns respond? And remember, the bold prediction is 8 combined passing touchdowns, and whether that happens if the Browns are down 42-7 or if it's a 45-41 shootout, it all counts the same. Hopefully for the hyped up Browns fans, they keep it competitive, and hopefully for NFL fans, it's a shootout. And next we head to the Bucs-Saints game to discuss this playoff game and ultimately the battle with Drew versus Tom. So this will probably be the last time Drew and Tom ever play together. Let's just go ahead and call it what it is. Drew Brees turns 42 the day that I post this video, so happy birthday Drew. But with him being as old as he is and as beat up and battered as he's been the last year, and really the last few years of his career, I do think this is Drew's final ride no matter what happens. If he loses in a way similar to the Minneapolis Miracle or the Rams game like the Saints have before, then that would be an unfortunate way to end a career, but as I've said multiple times throughout the course of the season, I think this is it for Drew, win or lose. So the bold prediction for the final battle for Drew and Tom is the exact same one as the Chiefs-Browns game. Now, I didn't intentionally do this or have any specific intention to do this and have the same bold prediction for 2 games, but Tom, as we know, was beat twice by the Saints in the regular season. And Tom, more often than not in his career, has ultimately had the last laugh. Of course, 2 exceptions are Eli getting him twice, but other than that, if a team has beat him, he has usually ended up beating them in the playoffs or in some cases winning the Super Bowl later that year. And unfortunately for Saints fans, it is incredibly difficult to beat a team 3 times, but with that being said, the good news for them is in the 2 games they've played the Bucs this year, they put up 34 points and 38 points, so points for them have not been hard to come by. But do not expect regular season Week 1 getting adjusted to a new team with no preseason due to a pandemic Tom, and play off everything on the line Tom to be the same player. We have seen players like Michael Jordan before take things personally and come back the next night and score 35 and really stick his chest at an entire organization as if to say, try and stop me, you know you can't type attitude, and with Tom it is nearly the same way. He very well may say he doesn't hear anything or read anything, but we live in a world today where that is impossible. Somebody somewhere has said something to Tom, and while that for sure has happened, the type of mentality he has comes from within and we don't see it often. And I fully expect Tom to be on a mission when they play the Saints on Sunday night. But Drew hasn't become a Hall of Fame player by saying, "Oh shucks, well hopefully we get one" type attitude either. And both of these guys have to know heading into Sunday that this will probably be the last time they go head to head, and the bold prediction is 8 touchdowns between them, and they will put on a show for everyone watching. And next is the Rams-Packers game, and this one is where, just being honest, I don't have high expectations for the Rams heading into the game. They have formally announced Jared Goff is starting on Saturday, and while they did get the win last week against the Seahawks, and congratulations to them for doing so, Jared Goff did not look good in the process, and he did not look good enough to go toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers with the season on the line in Lambeau good. So the bold prediction here is the Packers either win by 17 points, or it's an extremely tight game. And my biggest concern heading into this weekend with the Rams is if they'll be able to keep up with Green Bay. It's one thing to limit the Seahawks, as Russ had 28 passing touchdowns in the first half of the year and only 12 in the second half of the year, and if you take a game away against the 2-14 Jets, then he had 8 touchdowns in the final 7 games of the year. Aaron Rodgers hasn't had that type of dip in production, and he finished his year with 48 passing touchdowns. Now, I can't praise Jalen Ramsey enough for how good of a corner he is for limiting DK Metcalf the times they played this year, but how will he fare against Davante Adams is a different question. Davante is undoubtedly one of the best route runners in the league, and while there is no doubt DK has improved in that category, he's not where Davante is when it comes to that. And not only that, but Rodgers has other weapons and other good ones at that. He can hand the ball off to the 2-time 1,000-yard rusher at any point in Aaron Jones, and in the playoffs in the cold climate that is Green Bay, he can give the ball to the 245-pound plus back in A.J. Dillon. So don't think just because Jalen can limit Davante, if he even can do that the Packers are done, because that's not even close to the case. And side note, it's also worth noting they have a Pro Bowl tight end in Robert Tonyan. Anyways, if the Rams turn the ball over at all, they'll lose. Green Bay is so good and really elite at taking advantage of teams' miscues and teams fumbling opportunities away, and it's a typical Aaron Rodgers tries and draw them with a hard count, successfully gets them, then throws a deep shot, and it's been the story time and time again over the past 10 years. If the Rams have any aspirations of winning this game and ultimately going to the NFC Championship game, then it starts with not turning the ball over. But a well-rested Packers team with a 48 touchdown MVP caliber quarterback against a quarterback who isn't healthy in Jared Goff with his thumb injury in elements the Rams are not familiar with is a recipe for a Packers blowout win. And the final bold prediction for today's video, as you can see on the thumbnail, is Buffalo wins comfortably over Baltimore. Now before you click out or dislike, just hear me out. You've made it this far, so hear me out on this one please. The Ravens won last week against Big Brother. They finally knocked them off and finally got one against the Titans and Derrick Henry. Lamar got his playoff win, and good for them, I'll add. But Buffalo is a great team, and they have been extremely hot, just like the Ravens. And there is legitimate concern with the weather on Saturday, and Lamar was even asked about this during an interview this week. Lamar replied with, and I'm paraphrasing here, "But I don't want to have to play in the snow if we don't have to," or something along these lines. Well, Buffalo is quite familiar with the snow, and so is Josh Allen. This won't be a problem to them, and according to the Weather Channel, there's a 60% chance of snow Saturday night with 1 to 3 inches expected. So the reporter asking that question, and Lamar essentially saying, "I don't want to play in the snow," is, I don't want to overreact and say a cause for concern, but it is a little nerve-wracking if you're a Ravens fan. To me, that sounds like Lamar may be in his own head about having to play in the snow, and everything but aside from the snow, that's not the only reason the Bills comfortably win on Saturday. This dates back to an emotional, hard-fought win over Tennessee, where if you watch that game, then you know those teams were hitting hard on Sunday. And there's no doubt the Ravens are still going to be sore on Saturday when they take the field against the Bills. They can of course say what they want, but in a game as physical as the wildcard round was for them, and with them having their bye week all the way back in week 7, they're going to be hurting. Lastly, to further the point of the emotional win, I don't expect them to be able to keep up with Buffalo on Saturday, and I think the Bills win something along the lines of 31-21 or somewhere in this area. Now, the Ravens are not a bad team by any means, I just think they're going to be a product of playing a truly great team at the wrong time. And not only that, but still a little fired up from last week's win of overcoming the Titans, and I think we'll see that in the second half of the game on Saturday night. This could very well go either way, and if the Ravens win and prove me wrong, good for them. Lamar would be 2-2 after an 0-2 start in the playoffs, and that would be best for the sake of his career. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I would very much appreciate that, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Have a great playoff weekend. Love you guys. Deuces. Peace.